The power's been out for 6 hours. The temperature inside your house is dropping 1 degree every 45 minutes. Your breath is fogging, your fingers are going numb, and the furnace sits silent in the basement like a dead god. You have candles. Of course you do. Everyone has candles. You light them, they flicker, they're pretty, and they do absolutely nothing to warm the room. But your grandmother knew something you don't. During the Great Depression, when coal was a luxury and electricity hadn't reached rural America, families kept from freezing using a trick so simple it sounds like a lie. A clay flower pot, a candle, and physics that most people have completely forgotten. Here's the truth. This heater works, but not in the way you think. It won't heat your living room, it won't replace your furnace, but in the right conditions, in the right way, it can keep you alive. So let me show you the actual science, the real limitations, and how to build one that won't burn your house down. First, let's kill the fantasy. You've seen the viral posts, you've seen the pictures, a terracotta pot inverted over some candles with the promise that it can heat an entire room for just pennies. That's not physics, that's wishful thinking. Let's talk numbers. A single tea light candle produces about 80 BTUs of heat per hour. That's the unit of energy. A small, cheap electric space heater, the kind you plug into the wall, puts out 5,000 BTUs. To match that space heater with candles, you'd need more than 60 of them burning at once. Your living room would look like a funeral. And the pot doesn't create heat. It cannot. The first law of thermodynamics is absolute. Energy cannot be created in a closed system. The candle releases a fixed amount of thermal energy. You can put a pot over it, you can put a cathedral over it. You get the same number of BTUs, no more, no less. So, why does it feel warmer? Why did your grandmother swear by it? Because the pot doesn't make more heat. It changes how that heat reaches you. Here's the physics that actually matters. When a candle burns openly, most of its heat rises in a thin, useless column straight to the ceiling. That's called convection. It's completely useless if you're trying to stay warm on the couch. All that precious warm air just pools up there on the ceiling while you sit in the cold, dense layer of air at floor level. But terracotta, that humble orange clay, has a remarkable property. It's called high specific heat capacity. It means it can absorb a lot of thermal energy before it gets hot, and once it is hot, it releases that energy very, very slowly. It's a thermal battery made of dirt. When you put a clay pot over the candles, the pot does something brilliant. It captures that rising column of hot air. It absorbs that energy instead of letting it escape to the ceiling. The clay heats up gradually, spreading the thermal energy through its entire mass. And then the key part happens. The pot begins to emit infrared radiation. Infrared is how the sun warms the Earth across 93 million miles of cold, empty vacuum. It doesn't need air to travel. It travels in straight lines, and it heats whatever it touches directly. When you sit near a warm terracotta pot, you are not feeling warmed air. You are feeling your own body absorbing infrared waves that warm you from the outside in. Research from the John B. Pierce Laboratory found something fascinating about this. They put test subjects in a room with hot air but cold walls. The subjects reported feeling miserably cold. Then they put subjects in a room with cold air but warm walls, and those subjects broke into a sweat. More than 60% of our thermal comfort comes from this radiant heat exchange, not from the temperature of the air around us. The candle and pot heater exploits this perfectly. So what can it actually do? Let's be realistic. 4 tea light candles under a standard terracotta pot will heat the exterior surface to over 270 degrees Fahrenheit. That radiating surface, positioned just a few feet from your body, will make you feel warmer. Not comfortable warm, not 72 and sunny warm. We're talking alive through the night warm. The key is shrinking your space. This heater will never warm a living room, but it can warm you, inside a tent, inside a closet, inside a car, a small bathroom with the door closed. Depression-era families understood this instinctively. When the cold came, they didn't try to heat the whole farmhouse. They picked one room, they hung blankets over the doorways to seal it off, and they put the pot heater right in the center. In a space the size of a small bathroom, a properly built pot heater can raise the perceived temperature by several degrees, not because the air is hotter, but because your body stops losing its own heat to the cold walls and surfaces around you. The pot's infrared radiation simply tips the balance in your favor. Now, here's where I save you from yourself. This heater is dangerous if you're stupid about it. The most common disaster comes from using too many candles in too small a tray. Paraffin wax has a flash point, an ignition temperature, between 490 and 480 degrees Fahrenheit. If you pack 6 or 8 candles together under that insulating dome, the pooled melted wax can heat past that ignition point. When that happens, you don't get a bigger flame, you get an explosion. The wax vapor ignites all at once, flames shoot sideways, and you are suddenly dealing with a fire you cannot put out with water. Burning wax floats. If you throw water on it, you'll just spray liquid fire across your kitchen. A man named Miles Weston set his boat on fire this exact way. The London Fire Brigade has been issuing warnings about these things for years. The danger is absolutely real. So here's how to build one safely. Start with an unglazed terracotta pot, about 10 to 12 inches in diameter. Glazed pots look nice, but they don't radiate heat efficiently. Get a terracotta saucer or a metal tray to hold the candles. Now set that tray on some bricks or a metal stand to allow for air intake underneath. This is crucial. Use no more than 4 tea lights and space them apart. Don't let them touch. A standard tea light burns for 4 to 6 hours, which can give you overnight coverage. Place the inverted pot over the candles, but do not seal it at the bottom. Leave a gap for airflow. The fire needs to breathe. Never leave it unattended, never use it while you are sleeping, never put it directly on a wood surface. Keep a grease fire extinguisher nearby, and know that if the wax catches, you smother it with a metal lid. Do not pour water on burning wax. And the most critical rule of all, ventilation. Candles consume oxygen, and they produce carbon monoxide. In a small enclosed space, 4 candles burning for hours can create a toxic, lethal environment. You must crack a window. You must leave a gap under a door. The warmth is not worth asphyxiation. There's a reason this worked so well during the Depression. Houses weren't sealed back then. They had gaps and drafts, a natural ventilation built right into their shoddy construction. Our modern homes are airtight. That changes everything. Also, those families weren't trying to maintain 72 degrees. They were trying to stay above freezing. A clay pot heater kept the water pitcher from icing over. It kept their fingers nimble enough to work. It kept them alive until morning. So, what's the verdict? The terracotta pot heater will not warm your house. It barely qualifies as emergency heat by our modern standards. But in a true crisis, when the power is gone for days and the temperature is plummeting, this Depression-era trick converts the useless convective heat of candles into directional, radiant heat your body can actually absorb. It's the difference between lighting candles and just hoping versus engineering heat to actually reach you. The pot is a lens. The physics are sound. The danger is manageable if you respect fire. This is supplemental heat, not primary heat. It's a tool for making a bad situation slightly less bad. It's most effective in the smallest possible space with the most realistic expectations. But in a world where the grid can fail, where winter storms can strand you for days, knowing how to squeeze real warmth from common objects isn't a parlor trick. It's the knowledge that kept people alive when survival meant getting creative. Your grandmother knew that desperation breeds innovation. A flower pot doesn't care that it's supposed to hold petunias. Physics doesn't care about intended use. And heat, when properly directed, doesn't need expensive machines. Next time the power goes out, don't just light candles and pray. Build the heater, shrink your space, and let the clay do what it's done for thousands of years. That's not magic, that's thermodynamics. And in a blackout, thermodynamics might be your only friend you have left.